Buckle up. The ride ain't over yet. Welcome back to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're just beginning this ride. And so glad you're on this ride with us today. Thank you so much for hanging on and coming back. And in the meantime, Mike Shoesmith, my guest this afternoon. So good to have you with us today, Mike, and thank you for hanging on. So listen, I was just looking at this National Geographic article that you posted to the Freedom Friday website, to the Freedom Friday Facebook page. Folks, let me just remind everybody, go to freedomfriday.carlgallups at facebook.com, freedomfriday.carlgallups, and it takes you right to our live Facebook feed. And you've got an article there posted. I'm just going to read the title, and then you and I were talking about it offline. I can't wait for you to reveal this. The title is Oldest Tools Outside of Africa Found, Rewriting Human Story. Mike, how many times are the evolutionists going to rewrite their story? And that's a good word for it, by the way, story.
The narrative here, Carl, on the atheist creation myth of evolution is bouncing around more than a cocktail waitress at a Shriners convention lately. You know, in the last year, they've been making alterations to their theory. I mean, how many lead pencils are they going through over there? And the erasers. I mean, they've had to erase so much of what they think they know. I mean, yeah. We know this. We know we do this, that. Now they've gotten out the erasers and the number 2 pencils, and they're rewriting it yet again. New evidence suggests that our ancient cousins left the continent much earlier than thought. Modern humans, distant relatives, left Africa earlier than previously thought, rewriting a key chapter in humankind's epic prequel, according to a discovery unveiled on Wednesday, 2 days ago in Nature. Nearly 100 stone tools found at the Shangjian site in central China may push back the spread of our ancient cousins hominins out of Africa more than 250,000 years, Carl.
And you know, brother, for 10 years you and I have been in ministry together on the internet and public and in conferences, and we've been together, I mean, literally working together. And for 10 years, we've been cursed and ridiculed, and they attempted to shame us, but, you know, we have no shame, so they can't shame us. But right, you know, in this thing of evolution, this pseudoscience of evolution, they've been telling you and me for 10 years, this is settled science. This is settled science. How dare you question? And we've been saying, but look, this can't be right. And now they're finally admitting over and over and over, they're off by millions and millions and millions and millions, 250 million of years, even in their own idiotic estimations of pseudoscience. You go ahead, Mike.
The tool makers lived at Shangjian on and off for 800,000 years, between 2.1 and 1.3 million years ago. The thing about these large epochs of time, Carl, it's like the analogy of you and I are in a room, we just boiled an egg, you leave the room, I spill something on the floor, I lean down on the counter to pick up this thing off the floor, and I put my hand on the boiled egg and I crush it.
Mm-hmm.
And you come in and you say, wow, it must have taken hundreds of years for that to just collapse over time, you know, all by itself like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just put my hand on it and squashed it. These people are leaving out the omniscience and the you know, the power of God to create the entire universe. And they're saying, okay, given that there is no God, now we have to add enormous epochs of time. And that's what this is all made. These numbers are all made up numbers. You know, it's like they talk about the Republic of Georgia with the oldest known fossils for our extinct cousin Homo erectus.
Yeah.
You know, that binomial is just a made up language like Klingon. You know, Klingon used to be the fastest growing language on Earth at one point, back when Star Trek was in heyday.
Right, when it was in vogue, yeah.
Yeah, this binomial and trinomial language that they created to have a discussion about the creation myth of evolution, the atheists created. This is a language created in order that they can have discussions about this basically zero evidence they have for any of this.
Right.
Finding artifacts that you knew were around 2 million. They don't know that.
I know.
None of these people were
that.
around 2 million years ago. As a paleoanthropologist, really exciting, said the co-author Robin. Okay, now here they say more people have climbed Everest than found stone tools that old.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, if you gather up all of the actual human fossils that they've discovered, the hominin fossils that they discovered on Earth, if you gather them all up, you take all the plaster of Paris off, and all of the rubber and all of the fake hair and everything. If you take all that off and actually go down to what they've actually found, you can fit every piece that they found on Earth into the back of a pickup truck.
Yes.
That's a known fact.
No, I know that.
And they've built this entire religion out of almost no evidence, Carl. And they've made up this thing. I heard one guy said, I had to quit anthropology classes in university because I'm listening to my professors, and they're saying, okay, we found this little bone fragment. Okay, now we're going to build a narrative around this bone fragment and say this is a homo this or a homo that, and we're going to say that it had a tail, and we're going to say this about it, and then they call all their buddies at all these universities, and this guy basically confessing the sins of the university, and saying this is why I got out, because they have no evidence. It's all ginned up and fabricated using plaster of Paris and grinders to make the evidence fit the narrative, rather than letting the evidence lead wherever it goes. And then they end the paragraph with, this again shows how little we actually know.
It is
finally a bit of truth.
Isn't that amazing? But you know what I love more than anything else is the paragraph before that sentence. Quote, I have always said that once the Chinese researchers start looking for evidence on a similar scale as all the money we spent in Africa, things will turn up. I can't believe he said that. In other words, he's basically saying, give us billions of dollars and we'll turn up whatever you want. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about money and power and grants and religion and denying God. This is what this whole pseudoscience is about. They actually admitted it.
And these people, if they would go back to the biblical narrative and they would say, okay, God created the heavens and the earth and everything in it in 6 days, and then they all gathered around this place called Babel, and then the Lord, and they had this agenda, this anti-God agenda at the Tower of Babel. We can talk about that another time. But then the Lord reaches down, scatters their speech, spreads them all over the world, and guess what? Now they're finding evidence of civilizations all over the world that had tools and civilizations and lived civilized lives with a culture and everything. Doesn't that just fit the biblical narrative?
And by the way, they all had individual languages as well, as we continue to dig up the artifacts. It matches the biblical narrative perfectly. That thing that's a lie, And in the meantime, they continue to rewrite the story. Well, thank you for bringing the story to us, Mike Schuster.
American Survival Wholesale is proud to sponsor this ministry and their efforts to shed light on the issues that face our nation. As a veteran and Christian-owned and operated company, we support the freedom to express these Christian principles. We all understand the importance of being prepared. After witnessing the devastation of Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and the wildfires that affected so many, please support this ministry by clicking on the link below and check out the amazing alt media package for our listeners. Plus, if you use the promo code PNN Radio, that's PNN Radio, you will receive free shipping, a savings of up to $200. Just click on the link below, but please do it today. Your support means so much to this channel.
The Satanists wanted to install their own tribute, a pagan idol, on the Capitol grounds right next to the Ten Commandments.
Billions around the planet are witnessing a world in the grasp of sadistic spiritual darkness. This unholy alliance has infected our governments, our religious institutions, and our societies. The world appears to be unraveling. But can the evil behind these dark supernatural forces be defeated? Is everything playing out just as the Bible predicted it will in the final days? At last, you can know the answers to mankind's most urgent questions and learn your destiny among today's events in the new, unprecedented work taking the prophecy world by storm. Gods and Thrones, Nakash, Forgotten Prophecy, and the Return of the Elohim by best-selling author, former decorated law enforcement officer, and senior pastor Carl Gallups. This changes everything. Available now wherever fine books are sold.